Probably is very specific to me. But my dad was really, really into country and western stuff. Got both genres, country and western. I know you're probably thinking, oh yeah, most dads from that era were into cowboys. But my dad literally took it to the next level. He would always be watching westerns. He'd always be playing cowboy music, country cowboy music. He'd always be playing country and western music. But this is so amazing. And I don't think I realised how crazy it was at the time, or cool really. But he would go out dressed in full cowboy stuff. And he would have like really expensive cowboy hats, really expensive like cowboy jackets. And he would go out with replica guns on, walking down the street. How he didn't get arrested, I don't know, because to all intents, I think they were actually deactivated guns, so they look really realistic. They weren't like plastic or anything like that. If you can notice here, Gunsmoke on the old arcade there. Well, there used to be a local, well, still there, a local taxi rank. Taxi rank is that a phrase? It is now. It was a place called Roseville Taxis, and me and my sister would go in there. And while I was playing on Gunsmoke, my sister would go out into the back room for 5 minutes, come out 5 minutes later, and we get a free taxi ride home. So thanks, Susan, appreciated it. But yeah, Gunsmoke's a really cool game. It's a shoot 'em up, and you can control cowboys walking up, shooting in a town. It's got a really good control system because it's the 3 buttons. One shoots left, one shoots right, and one shoots straight up, and you can control the little guy walking around. But check out Gunsmoke. But now I'm going to recommend 5 westerns. Some of them are my favourites, but a couple of them are just films that you might not have heard of as much. So yeah, check out these 5 westerns if you get a chance. The first one is Texas Rangers, directed by Stephen Miner and starring James Van Der Beek. I really wanted this film to be a success when it came out because it was before westerns were quote-unquote popular again. Actually, that's one thing. Have you ever noticed this? Loads of directors like John Carpenter, they always said, oh, I got into the film business because I wanted to direct westerns, but I can't because they're too expensive and they aren't popular anymore. And now, every other low-budget film is a western, so I don't know why it's suddenly become cheap to film westerns. But John Landis, talk about old school directors, he said a quote recently that really resonated with me, where he said,
if they knew how much fun it was to make westerns, they wouldn't let us.
And I found out there used to be a stuntman, and he used to make loads of westerns. How cool is that? But yeah, Texas Rangers, I think it's from the early 2000s. Number 4 is the 3:10 to Yuma remake, starring Christian Bale. One thing that always sticks in my head about that film, me and my mate Tom, actually it'd be funny what Tom thinks about this list. I was like, oh God, why do I associate with Dave? But when me and Tom went to see the 3:10 to Yuma remake, there was only like me and him and I think one other person in the cinema. About halfway through, a woman came in with a bag, sat down on one seat, and about 10 minutes later, moved to another seat. About 10 minutes later, moved to another seat, and then left. And I always just think, what was going on in that person's mind? Were they going the wrong screen? Couldn't decide what seat they wanted to sit in. And I was like, this isn't the film I want to go see. I'm like with numbers, but number 3 is 5 Card Stud. Well, I should have put them in the actual numbers of the titles, but number 3 is 5 Card Stud. A really amazing western starring Yaphet Kotto, Dean Martin and Roddy McDowall. And I remember watching it the very first time I ever watched it, and it was like, oh my God, this film is amazing. But the most amazing thing about it is, and again, you're talking about my dad who was into westerns, my dad got me into this film, and I don't think I've ever watched it sober, ever. So I always remember it being an amazing film, but like now, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, what is the film about? I'd be like, oh, I'm not really sure. I always remember it being awesome. And I think it's on Netflix, but say my dad's into country and western music, and this is one of those Mandela effect things that blew my mind. Me and my dad loved the title song 5 Card Stud by Dean Martin. And we always wanted like to listen to it like in the car or just on record or whatever when me and my dad were drinking. And it was never on any of his tapes, any of his like records, or it wasn't on CD or anything. And I checked loads and loads of times when my dad was alive saying, oh Dad, I can't get it, it's not like on anything, it was never released as a single. And I'm sure I checked hundreds and hundreds of times, but I could never find it. I checked the other week on eBay, there was like about 10. It's like, where were they 10 years ago? But number 2 is the mid-90s film, Posse, not to be confused with the other film called Posse, which is a great film about black cowboys, directed by Mario Van Peebles, and talking about the good old DVD commentaries gang. One thing that this bottle's made for when we did Western season, and one thing that always sticks out about that film was when I watched it at college, and I got it like recorded off TV. I was watching it, and Curtis came in, and he said, "Oh, it's got a scene where it's in the snow," and he was like, "Oh, I love westerns where it's filmed in the snow." So I was like, "Oh, awesome!" So I was yeah, but check out Posse if you get the chance. And another film, this is actually a genuinely great, well, I think Posse is a great movie, but Hang 'Em High is one of the best ever westerns. And when I say, my dad used to say about King of the Cowboys, to me, Clint Eastwood would be King of the Cowboys. We used to tease my dad by going, "Oh Dad, King of the Cowboys is on Clint Eastwood." And I did really believe it to be true. But Hang 'Em High is a great film. I don't know why I did this, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. On all the 4 walls of my bedroom, I've got something to do with Lone Rangers. So it's like, it just felt like lucky, it felt like as if it was the right cosmic thing to do. But here is a Lone Ranger minifigure from some Lone Ranger Lego that I've got. Can you believe Disney made a Lone Ranger film? Is it one of the Disney films with the most killing in it? I've got this badass Lone Ranger comic. And I've also got this Lone Ranger figure, $17.99. You didn't see me coming, did they? Also though, talking about modern westerns, really good western that came out a few years ago was A Million Ways to Die in the West. It's one of the few westerns where it shows you how terrible it would be to grow up in that time period, because everybody died really young and the food tasted horrible, and you know, it was just a nightmare situation living. But there's a great scene in A Million Ways to Die in the West that actually ties it to Back to the Future, more specifically Back to the Future 3.
Hello? What's that?
Nothing. I mean, it's a weather experiment.
Oh.
One thing about cowboys, they always eat off tin or metal plates. And I've got a metal plate that I had from like when I was growing up at home. And I love eating off that plate, especially like beans, because it just makes me feel like a cowboy. I've got a great book my dad gave me, and it was Marlborough paid for it to be made, and it's got all these cool facts about cowboys. And one thing near the end of the book is a recipe for cowboy coffee. There's 3 ingredients. 1 is water, 1 is coffee, and I bet you'll never guess what the 3rd ingredient is. And I'm tempted to do some of that cowboy coffee right now. But yeah, it'd be great to hear your suggestions of who you think the King of the Cowboys would be. And is there any slightly obscure westerns that you want to recommend to people so they can check out? That's a convoluted question, it's going to take a lot of typing out. But yeah, thanks for watching. And as always, keep it locked.
Thanks for watching The Legends of Cherry Hill. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing.